Good day to everyone. We will now discuss God and ethics or supernaturalism. The flow of our discussion is that we begin in the foundation of discussing this topic or the reason why we include supernaturalism and also the ethics of supernaturalism, the particular circumstances or the application of this ethical standard, and then the critique to the supernaturalism. Here are the references that we'll be using, mainly Thomas Aquinas, and then Agapay, Andres, Articulo Florendo, Babor, Bauzon, Castano, Castillo, Cruz, Holloway, Montemayor, Philippine Constitution, Word on Fire, and other internet sources and references. So the foundation includes rational, political, logical, philosophical foundation, and then the sciences concerns, and then the in-depth explanation of the existence of God and others. The definition of supernaturalism is relating to an order of existence beyond the visible or observable universe. So that's why we have the word super. If the naturalism is in terms of the visible and observable universe, then the supernaturalism goes beyond what we see or in terms of our senses. So especially it is by its operational terminology we're using, it's relating to God. You may wonder why we're talking about God here, especially in the state university or public domain. But you don't need to worry because even our constitution, by its very beginning of the paragraph, the first sentence in the preamble states that we are imploring the aid of the Almighty God. So it is part of our constitution to also discuss this kind of matter. If you remember this panunumpa sa watawat ng Pilipinas, which we recite every flag ceremony, it states there that we may be godly or makadios. And if you remember also the persona of our president, he said that he believes in the separation of the church and state, but there should be no separation between state and God. Even in the mission, vision, and hymns of most schools, if not all, uh, they always invoke the reality of God. And here we have the example of the hymn of CSU with the chorus, "You have taught us for the nation and for the world unto God." So there's always a reality of God. In faith, science, and reason, they also go together. We tend to think that science are incompatible to the belief in God. But here we see that the great scientists are also believers, opposite to the myth that science disprove God's existence. The truth in terms of the record here is that religion is not opposed to science. Of course, some religions or beliefs are in conflict with some scientific findings, but the God in general in which the great thinkers are dealing with are actually not in opposition to the scientific theories. Our point here is that we debunk the myth that science and the belief in God cannot go together. In fact, science arose when and where it did in the Christian West because the propositions of Christian theology enabled it to flourish. The presuppositions that the world is intelligible or has patterns or beauty simply because it is created by a conscious or intelligent entity which we name God. Many scientific founders were not just ardently religious, but even priests and clerics, that the religion and science are compatible and complementary paths to truth. Here we see the father of Big Bang Theory is actually a Catholic priest, Father George Lemaitre. The father of modern genetics is Father Gregor Mendel, also a Catholic priest. The famous scientific uh, criterion, the Occam's razor, the simplicity, is also by Father William of Occam. And here, a Catholic Church canon lawyer, Copernicus, is the father also of scientific revolution. We also have Sister Kenneth Keller, the pioneer of the computer science, a Catholic sister. Even Newton is also a Christian believer, and also other great scientists are religious people, including the Muslims and the Jewish scientists. Even Charles Darwin, he believes in God. In his famous autobiography, page 92, he states that uh, the complex evolution is actually designed by God. Here we have quotations from two great people, John Paul II and Albert Einstein. John Paul II, from his encyclical letter Fides et Ratio, or Faith and Reason, he said that faith without reason leads to superstition, or a myth, or falsehood, while reason without faith leads to nihilism, or distraction, or nothingness. Nihilism from the Latin word nihil, which means nothing. And then here, from the letter of Albert Einstein to a philosopher, Eric Goodkind, the God letter, he said that science without religion is lame, for we cannot move to reach out the truth, and religion without science is blind, for we cannot see the truth from factual evidences. Again, that's why we use the term here supernaturalism, because it goes beyond the natural or of science and reason. It does not mean that we don't use the natural. No, we utilize here science and reason, but it is supernatural because it goes beyond science and reason. It uses science and reason, but goes beyond it, since there are things beyond the natural realm. Here we have the theological foundation in curriculum, or in terms of the curriculum experts, why the reality of God or supernaturalism should be included in education. According to Minda Sotaria, Paulina Costino, and Juanita Guerrero, they said that education shall involve in the development of Filipino citizens imbued with the love of God and country, respect for human rights, love for truth, freedom, justice, and democracy. Education must manifest in actual life an abiding faith in God as a reflection of his spiritual being. Another, according to Isagani Cruz, he said that the public school system will be makabayan, makatao, makalikasan at makadiyos, or godly, and there should be an inculcation of spiritual and civic values and a development of a good Filipino based on abiding faith in God and genuine love of country. And we have Thomas Quintin and Felizardo Francisco, in which they said that another curricular emphasis in the school, which defends its purpose through the tenets of scholasticism. It believes that the rational nature of man provides a measure of what is good and what is bad. This measure deals with the whole man, body and soul, intellect and will, and it emphasizes being, reason, and intuition. The circular goal is fixed and unchangeable, God. So those are the foundation or some reasons why we include God and ethics or supernaturalism.